Faster than a speeding bullet? You better believe it. Stick around. Hi, folks. Old Man Grognard here. It's been a while, so I'm going to start out with an oldie but a goodie for me, and that is Hero Games Champions. This is Champions 4th edition, and it is by far, I think, the best. And it's just, if for superhero games, as far as I'm concerned, it really can't be beat. I mean, there's other games that I played, Marvel and Villains Vigilantes and things like that, and they're good, you know, they're not bad, but this is the one. This is the one that did it for me. This here, I'll give you a little background. In '81, came out with the first edition of Champions, and it needed a little work. Second edition really got it crystallized, and it was very playable. So was third edition, which refined some things. And fourth edition, this is fourth edition, also known as the Big Blue Book, BBB. I like it because it crystallized it just everything. Here's what happened. Hero Games decided that the champion system is a truly universal system, and it is. Because you can make whatever you want. But the problem is they put out a few games after this, like Espionage, which spies, Fantasy Hero for fantasy, Star Hero for sci-fi, things like that. And they all use the same basic system, but since this is a point-by system, they did not use the same base for points, because they were cheaper or whatever. Fantasy Hero was notorious for that, because it seemed like every time they put out a new supplement for Fantasy Hero, they had to redo the magic system for some reason. And we found out through trial and error that Fantasy Hero spells and Champions powers really don't mix. So what they did in 4th edition, which was by George MacDonald and Steve Peterson with Rob Bell. What they did with this book is they codified everything. They made it into a true universal system and took all the powers and skills and things they had in previous systems, put it in here, and made it all the same price, all the same point cost. This is a point by game. And it really helped, because you have different levels now of heroics. You can do street level superheroes. You can do super agents. You can do spies. You can do, fantasy stuff with this book. Now, this came out in about '91, and in about a year or so later, they put out the Hero System Rule Book, which is basically Champions. It's Champions without the champions. It's the basic hero system. They didn't put because this is broken up into 2 sections. And here's the book. This is my copy, Champions Deluxe. This is a reprint in '95. What they did was they put a DOS program in here called Hero Maker, which could help you make heroes on your computer. And this was back in the Windows 98 days, 95, 98 days. And so I got this. I had a copy of the one I showed you, the first one, but I gave that to a friend of mine. I got this. This doesn't have the software in it, which I couldn't use anyways. I didn't care. But Hero Deluxe, Champions Deluxe rather, had all the errata and corrections in it. So I think I got. Also, has a really kick-ass index in here. That was the thing about Champions. It didn't really have a really good index. The table of contents was pretty buff, but still you had to search for stuff. But this thing has an index and it's really nice. You really need something like that. Okay, what is Champions? First of all, Champions, here's the breakdown of the system. It uses all D6s, buckets of D6s. Oh, I loved rolling all those. And what you have to do is basically, the main mechanic is whatever task it is, you're rolling under. You're rolling low in this system, which means an 18 is a fumble and a 3 is a crit. And because you're rolling 3d6 to hit things. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of this because I gush too much about the games I really, really love. And unfortunately, it kind of dilutes what I'm trying to tell you because I just sort of go off in all different directions. And I don't want to do that here. It's a point-by system for a standard superhero game. You're building your characters on 100 points. Any other points, you have to do things like take disadvantages, which give you X amount of points, depending on how many you take. Okay, real simple, right? And you can modify, say, the powers and skills by different things like advantages and disadvantages, which is basically a percentage of either a plus or a minus. And what I'm saying is, yes, it involves math, but add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you're covered. And the like the advantages and disadvantages, advantages and limitations, I should say, are their fractions, but they give you a handy dandy chart in the book, so you can figure that out. But I'm not going to, like I said, I'm getting into the specifics. Combat is you have an OCV and a DCV in your stats. Offensive combat value, defensive combat value. You also have e-combat values, ego combat value, because in case, for mental attacks and things like that. So you basically take 11 plus the OCV minus the DCV. That's the number you have to hit or less. That's as far as I'm going to go. Let me show you what the book looks like. Here's the layout of the book. Real easy to read, very friendly. I like it. And it's got some really good artwork, especially like on the cover. But with that, through the whole thing, it's just great. Yeah, they actually grabbed George Perez to do the cover, and it looks beautiful. And as is all the other black and white artwork in here. Here's the skill list. It's got skills. It's got powers. So you're buying skills and powers, and like I said, you can modify them and make anything you want. They also have what they call skill frameworks, like multi-powers and things like that, which come in really handy so you can do it kind of on a budget, because it all depends on how many points you have. But that's a downside I'll get to in a minute. Here's the list of all the powers. If you notice a stop sign or a little magnifying glass, those are the ones that flag to the GM, like, okay, you might want to keep an eye on this one, and stops means, are you sure you want this in your campaign? Here's a page off the powers book. Explains how the powers work, how much they are, what it costs. Here's an example of a completed character. You notice there's a lot of stats there, because there's main stats and there's derived stats, because the derived stats are derived from the main stats. And once again, it's like you're buying it with powers. Up the upper right, you see the disadvantages this character has, which helps pay for the powers below, and the skills and the stats. And they give it to you right there. Now, and here's some of the combat maneuvers that you can do. They have a really neat martial arts system in here, and I like it, because you can actually model different kinds. You can buy straight martial arts. There's a package called Straight Martial Arts, but they also show you how to do other packages with, like, if you want to do Savate, if you want to do Kung Fu, if you want to do karate, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really, really flexible system. Okay, now that and also the combat system is pretty good. It is pretty good. It's a phase system. So you have a speed. Every character has a speed, so you don't move every phase. Depends on what your speed is. So that takes care of like initiative. So, downsides. Okay, here's a downside. Math, for some people. Not me. And I struggle with math. But like I said, you add, subtract, you multiply, divide. And you deal with the fractions. And you don't even really have to deal with the fractions, because they got charts in this book to show you how to do it. Or just look it up. All you D&D people with the tables like to hit tables, you should understand that. It's always handy to have a chart. Another thing, you can only build what you have points for. I don't want to hold that as a bad thing, and I also don't want to hold it against the game, because my opinion of champions and the players has changed over the years. Now, I don't want to say anything bad about it or stuff, but champions gamers tend to be a little on the anal side. And I've played in games where if you didn't buy it that way, you can't use it, and that's no way to run a game. It really isn't. That actually drove me back to D&D for a while. I'm still at D&D, and so I don't want to get down on it, but there it is. Because you can min max in this game if you do it right. And a lot of people have. I've seen people make not God, but Superman on 250 points. It's not easy, but you can do it. So, like I said, if you really want a specific character concept, you got to work with you should be working with the GM. Maybe they'll give you a little break on more points, something like that, or just talk it over with them. Because I've had situations where I didn't get exactly the way I wanted it, but I got it close enough. On the other hand, I've made characters where I say, I want this, and I built it, and it worked exactly the way I wanted it. That's the thing with champions. This is how they start it. What they do is they say every character should have offense, defense, and movement. Now, the thing is with a power, say you wanted a power. Okay, what does it do? What's the end result? And work backwards from that. That's when you go to the book. You hit the book. And you start going, okay, we can do this. And it's a real toolbox. And I like it. It was real crunchy. It was fun to play. It was like Tinker Toys with me. Or Legos, So it was fun. I spent 12 years playing this. And I had a whole lot of fun with it. Nowadays, I'm older. And I could probably play it. Oh, yeah, I played it before. I couldn't run it anymore. It's tiring to me. That's another downside. Battles can really drag out if you're not careful. In fact, when Fantasy Hero first came out, and we tried it after playing Champions for like 4 years, the guys were going, wow, this battle's going real fast. Yeah, because you don't have all the baggage of power. Yeah, you got spells, but I mean, they don't do near as much damage as, like, say, powers. And you didn't have the baggage. You didn't have the offensive and defensive like you had in Champions. So that's something to watch out for. But I still say this is the best superheroes. I mean, it's a really good universal system, but what does best is superheroes. And these days I run Marvel for my grandkids, mainly because, like I said, I can't run Champions anymore. It just wears me out because it just takes a long time. But and there's a lot of things you have to juggle too. I mean, if you're making every single supervillain, and people, it's good to have, like, packages made up and NPCs made up. They do have a list of generic NPCs in here, like normals, like a housewife, police, shopkeeper, banker, kid, old guy, whatever. But that's something you should prep for. And if you've already and they've got supplements out there. There are supplements for this. I mean, it went into 5th edition. 5th edition was all right. It was this, but I think it started to get bloated. It really did. And it's like all the fun got sucked out of the book because the 5th edition was the Hero System rulebook. So they were really going for the generic thing. 6th edition came along. I heard they changed it a lot. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. They published it in 2 books. I couldn't. And now, I don't know. I've seen the latest 7th edition, so I don't know where it's at. But this is the one for me. I spent a lot of time playing. I'm joining a game today. I've still got characters, or make some. I haven't done that in a long time. Anyway, you could find this actually on, like, at half. Keep an eye out at Half Price Books. Also, eBay, Amazon Marketplace, for reasonable prices, like $20 or less. Because this is a hardback. They did finally put this out in softcover. So you can find those too. And the Hero System rulebook if you want the champion stuff. I mean, you can still use it. I'd use that at the table. I'd have one or two of these, and then I have the Hero System rulebook for anybody who wants to, they need to look something up because it all works the same. Anyway, that's my take on Champions. Go look for it. It's a great game. And tell me about what you think of it. I know a lot of people. I'm probably going to get a lot of mail on this because this game it's divisive. I want to say it's very divisive because people who don't like all that involved stuff don't like it. Guys who really get into this like it, and it's funny because of me. I'm doing the, more simpler is better now. Even though I'd play this and I wouldn't run it, but I still love, I'd love a chance of tinkering with this some more. But anyway, that's my take. Tell me all about it at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. Until next time, bye-bye.